Hello there, kia ora. During the week, you probably heard that the government has decided to set up a report into the disability sector. And, well, you know what? That's pretty much it. That is probably the last thing I should say on this particular topic because I am not by any means an expert. But my mate Blake is, and he's got a few things he'd like to talk about in this particular area, and he is by far more of an expert on it than I am. So I'm going to cross over to Blake on this one.
Hello there. In the last few days, it was announced that the government will be doing an internal review into the disability issues saga after Penny Simmons was replaced by Louise Upton as the disability issues minister last week. Now, what also happened recently is that Paula Bennett was announced as the chief executive of Pharmac. Just another example of the National Party giving their old friends jobs. Interesting. How this ties in with the disability is over the weekend, it was announced by the disability spokesperson for the Labour Party, Priyanka Radhakrishnan, that some of the pumps that you need for insulin and to stay alive for feeding purposes for some disability people will not be funded anymore under the new rules. And how is that supposed to work? Because they need them to stay alive. Anyway, there are some positives to Paula Bennett becoming the chief executive. Like, it will help the coalition government complete their target of 13 new cancer medicines to be able to help with cancer. So for cancer patients, that's really good. So something really good from the government for a change. To tell you about a few other things and how this positively and negatively affects the general community, here's Paul.
Thanks for that, Blake. Now, just a couple of quick things to clarify here around Pharmac in particular. Just because Paula Bennett is in the job, and that certainly does smell of cronyism considering it's happened half a dozen times since this government got into power, she can't really do much in terms of the public sphere. This is one of those roles where they are severely limited in terms of making public commentary. Steve Mahari found that out the hard way. And it is quite common for former MPs to end up in these kind of roles, and it doesn't matter which particular party is in power, it happens. What is interesting, though, about Pharmac and the spin that's going on out there is the numbers aren't quite as amazing as the parties in power would like you to think they are. For a start, the $1.7 billion that they've given to Pharmac, well, that's only about $500 million more than what was promised under the Labour government. And don't get me wrong, an increase is definitely a good thing, but it's not going to pay for those new cancer meds that Blake mentioned. Pharmac themselves have turned around and said it's good, and it's going to help keep the lights on and give them some sort of security, and it will help with some things like glucose monitors for diabetics. But if you want to fund those new cancer drugs, we need to see that money come through in the budget. And we obviously don't know what the budget is going to say just yet. And hopefully it does have money in there to be able to increase the amount of cancer meds available that Pharmac can get. But this is also not going to be a quick process either. The actual process for getting any kind of drugs for Pharmac starts with MedSafe, who have to go through a really rigorous process that involves 140 different experts to find out what the best meds that are out there, how they work, how they operate, and report back to Pharmac before Pharmac's allowed to order them. And Pharmac can't order them until they go through a negotiation process with the drug manufacturer to get the best possible price. So it is not a quick, easy process by a long shot. And don't get me wrong, this is an area I really want to see the government succeed in. I want to see more options out there for people who need these life-saving medications, but it should not be pitched as something that's going to be quick and fast and fixed by an injection of $500 million more than what they were already promised. But more drugs for cancer patients, definitely something to work for, and I really do hope that the government do well on this one.